Hello, welcome back to part 2 of episode 1, the introduction of Papa Lee and the Aliens. I again am your narrator, Henry Lee Chenault, aka Papa Lee. I told you you're going to really see how crazy I was in this segment because this one is called The Twilight Zone. Okay, so now you know I'm a mental case. I will only say grab your seat. There's more. Here goes. Over the next few months after my bizarre encounter, nothing transpired out of the ordinary. In the fall of that same year, I found an article in a Reader's Digest book about astral projection. I had never heard of such a thing. I bought some books from Barnes & Noble on the subject and started reading. I was amazed at how similar astral projection and my encounter with the aliens were. I started experimenting with the techniques of astral projection. I was curious to see if I could duplicate the event. One night, while living in a rent house, I believe I was able to get out of my body. I was flying over this field on the way to see my 10-year-old son when I got frightened by the speed at which I was traveling. The next instant, I was in my bed. Not long after that failed episode, my son was visiting at our house. By the way, my future second wife and I had moved in together. My son saw the books about astral projection and asked me what they were about. I briefly explained the subject. He then asked if we could try it together. Naively, I said, sure. We went to the front bedroom. I laid on the bed in a north-south position on my back, and he laid on the floor at my feet. We were just goofing around. I started my meditation technique of looking up through the top of my head with my eyes rotated upward. After a while, I felt like someone was staring at me. You know how you get those weird feelings sometimes. Well, I opened my eyes and saw my son standing at my feet. He appeared scared and speechless. I asked him what was the matter. He said, "Dad, are you all right? You scared me to death." I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. What happened?" My son then proceeded to tell me that after a while of laying on the floor, he got bored. He raised up to see what I was doing. He then said that what he saw scared him out of his wits. He thought I was dead. I could tell he was visibly shaken, so I did not ask him any more about it. He still does not like to talk about it today. Needless to say, we did not try astral projection together again. He never spoke about that day until about a year later. I will tell you about his question eventually. Life continued on as usual. My second wife and I got married and moved to a 2-story house in the suburbs. I was still extremely involved in my studies and research about astral projection. I think I read nearly every single book on the market concerning the subject. I was not trying to astral project on a regular basis. I was mainly conscious or curious about the subject. Then one night, another bizarre incident happened. This time it involved my second wife. It was late one night while we were sleeping that I suddenly felt this trembling sensation. I laid there in bed on my back thinking that I might be having a mild seizure. My body was actually vibrating. I remember laying there recalling other people describing this feeling before their astral body separates from their physical body. I decided to consciously try to astral project. I concentrated and tried to raise my astral body out by leaning forward, like in my alien encounter with the gray hen. I was straining mentally to accomplish this when my wife began to twist and turn. For some reason, I felt like I was agitating her. I was laying on my back all this time with my eyes closed. I decided to stop trying to astral project and get out of my body. The vibrations ceased. I fell asleep and nothing was said. The next morning was Saturday. After my wife and I had gotten up out of bed, we were walking down the stairs. You have to understand that my wife never said a word in the mornings until she had a Coke and a cigarette. Heaven forbid if I ever said good morning prematurely. Well, I could not keep quiet any longer. I asked her, "Did I wake you up last night?" She stopped in her tracks on the stairs, turned and looked at me with that glaring stare of hers and said, "Don't you ever do that again." I asked what she meant by that. She then proceeded to tell me that she woke up and looked over at me in bed. She said that my physical body was laying flat in bed, but this gray, transparent ghost of me was sitting up in bed staring out the window. She said it scared her to death. I told her that I would never again do whatever I did. However, I did continue my studies on the subject of astral projection. I was determined to try to find out what was happening. Shortly after the incident with my second wife and the gray ghost, I ran across an article about deathbed apparitions. This is where a person's ghost is seen by others in close proximity to his physical body. Most of the article stated that death seemed to follow these individuals within 2 years in those cases. This supposedly known fact did not make me feel too comfortable. I decided to cease all astral projection studies. I felt that I could be tampering in dangerous waters. In any event, I'm still alive today. Neither my second wife nor my son ever brought up the subject again until one day driving back from our lake house. We were just outside of town. I was driving, thinking to myself about that day of attempting astral projection with my son. Suddenly, out of the blue, my son asked, "Dad, have you tried to astral project again?" I couldn't believe my ears. I had been dying to hear in more detail what he had actually seen that day. I asked him, "Son, if you're willing, can you tell me in your own words what you saw that day?" He shook his head from side to side, said, "Dad, you're not going to believe me." He then proceeded to tell me that I was laying there flat on my back. He said the problem was that this gray, transparent upper torso of me was sitting up, staring straight at him. He described it as a gray ghost. He said he was scared out of his wits. He honestly thought I was dead. He still has trouble talking about it. That was the last time they ever brought up the subject. My son is now 44 years old. The interesting thing here is that neither my son nor my second wife knew about the other's experience until that day. Years went by. My second wife and I had our youngest daughter. When she was born, we moved to the country, back to the two-story house in the suburbs, which I still own. The only bizarre thing that happened during this time frame involved my second daughter. She was 14 years of age at the time. I was at work at my clinic. I was walking to the storage room down the hallway when suddenly I visualized in my mind this picture of my daughter going down this path inside Carlsbad Caverns. Her mom and brother and I had gone on vacation to Carlsbad Cavern when she was just a baby. In my vision, I saw my daughter approach this sign that said, "Do not enter." I knew that she was going to leave the tour group and venture into this forbidden area. I mentally thought, "Noelle, do not go. Do not go. Stay with the group." And as Forrest Gump would say, and that was that. 2 weeks later, my daughter was over at my house sitting in front of the fireplace. She told me that they had just gotten back from vacation. I asked her if they had gone to Carlsbad Cavern. She looked at me surprised and said yes. I then proceeded to draw her a picture of the trail that she started to leave in my vision. I asked her if she had considered going to the forbidden part of the cave alone. Again, she looked surprised. She said yes, I wanted to explore it on my own. Then suddenly she changed her mind. She did not know why. She stayed with the tour group. I have no other explanation of this other than some form of mental telepathy occurrence. Self-destructive years followed after that incident. Business instability, another divorce, trouble with the IRS, lawsuits, and other headaches came my way. I had severe bronchial asthma and a duodenal ulcer. I had lost 60 pounds of weight. Then salvation walked through the door of my office in the form of my soulmate, Sheila. We were married after only 6 weeks of dating. Everyone, especially our families, thought we were nuts. History has shown that we were not crazy at all. Sheila is truly my soulmate. After 26 years of marriage, each day still seems like our first date. With her persistence and pushiness, I have become a better man. With the better living through chemistry attitude I have adopted, Prozac has given me more stability. I now have a life and have learned to laugh again. With my wife's support, my quest to find the answers has again been resumed. The truth is that I have no more answers than those contained in the 3 books. I have had no more bizarre events in my life other than saving a man from drowning and finding a newborn baby alive in a dumpster. I have not even had one dream about aliens or spaceships. I have only theories. Questions that make me think. I want to know why. I know that through all my studies in the Bible, the universe, the paranormal, my faith has become stronger than ever. There is universal goodness. There is life after death. And there is one God. So before I close, I need to clarify three things. First, everyone should be asking, why did you not check with the police and see if anything unusual happened on the night of my alien encounter? I have asked myself that question a million times. I guess the only answer is I did not want to appear crazy as I do now. Besides, if I could not remember what transpired with the aliens, why would the policeman be able to remember any details? I will never know. Nearly 37 years have passed and I still think about calling the police department to find out who worked during that time period. I guess I'll never let it go. Who knows? Maybe one of the police officers will see this YouTube presentation and contact me. I can only hope. Secondly, I need to clarify that I'm not a polished writer. I'm a man of few words. There are two things that I do not like to do. The first is I hate to read. The second is I hate to talk. I do not even own a cell phone. This presentation will be more like a teaching narrative. My vocabulary is weak. It sucks. I consider myself an educated redneck. I am a terrible public speaker, as you've already seen. I will not attempt to dazzle you, the reader, the viewer. There will be lots of maps and charts to see. All you need to do is listen, watch, and learn. Third, I feel really intimidated by all of the experts in all of these fields that we're going to be talking about. I have watched nearly every episode of the History Channel, the UFO Hunters, and Ancient Aliens. I have never read the book, The Chariots of the Gods. I do truly respect the author's opinion. I am not a genius in any shape or form. I do not have a clue about quantum physics or advanced math. Oh, and if you think I stole all of the answers from the experts, I wrote and copyrighted my books in 2007. The History Channel began in January of 1995. The only series covering one of my topics was the evolution of man, which I gave them credit for in my book. UFO Hunters aired in 2008 after the writing of my books, and the series Ancient Aliens aired in 2010. My wife and I would joke after seeing some of these episodes. Well, somebody must have read my book because they're sure talking about it. There's also a book that came out, Communion, A True Story, written by Whitley Strieber, that shows a picture of my alien on the cover. This book, however, was published in 1987, 9 years after my weird close encounter with the aliens. When I first saw this book was real popular for a period of time. It's still popular, but this was on the cover of the book here, and I got cold chill bumps when I saw it because it reminded me so much of the aliens that I had the encounter with. Remember, he drew this from his memory, and it's actually a physical being, whereas the aliens that I drew after mine, that was actually the suits that they wear. I really can't tell you what their physical bodies look like. So, anyway, I do not consider myself a psychic or a prophet. I consider myself to be more like John the Baptist, crazy, weird, and probably misunderstood. I am a voice crying out in the wilderness of life. I have never talked to an alien, nor have I been abducted. Apparently, I did have an alien talk to me. I do not hear voices in my head or feel spirits around me. I am just a fat old grandpa who has lots of questions. I only wish to make you think. The purpose of these books is merely to propose some theories that have never been presented before, and to show you a clear relationship between aliens, God, and man. And one last thing. I wrote the first book in a matter of 2 weeks while I was at work. I generally see about 20 patients a day. Between seeing clients, I would get these ideas and start writing things down. Sometimes I'd write so fast I couldn't even read my own handwriting. One of my daughters, who has attempted to read the first book, asked me, "Where did you get these ideas?" I told her that it just came to me. It was kind of like watching a motion picture inside my head. The other two books came in the same fashion, in the same time span, and I wrote those at work also. So what are you going to discover in the first book, Answers? This is what you're going to learn. What was the first universe? What is thought? What is the life force? How did God create himself in the second universe? How did God create the world in 7 days? What really caused the extinction of the dinosaurs? Who are the sons of God? Who are the Agigi? What are the Sumerian texts and the Hopi Indian legends? What caused the breakup of Pangaea? How did man evolve? Who was Cro-Magnon and the red-haired giants? Where was the exact location of the Garden of Eden? What is the real story of Adam and Eve? Where is the land of Nod? How did Methuselah live so long? Where was the first and second Atlantis located? Where did Noah live? How did Noah build the ark? What was gopher wood? How did Noah get rid of all of the animal waste on the ark? When did the great flood occur? Where did everyone go after the great flood? Where was the Tower of Babel located? How was everyone made speechless? Are there parallel universes? Does time travel exist? Are there wormholes? There you have it. If you watch the following episodes, be sure to buckle your seatbelt. You're going on a wild and crazy ride and hear things that you've never heard before. So before I leave you, I feel that you must know what I believe happened on that night in June 1978. Well, when I was 4 years of age and had the bump on my head, I believe I had my first alien encounter. I believe a gold microchip was implanted over my right temporal lobe, where my hippocampus and sylvian fissure are located. The lump on my head is still painful to the touch after 64 years. Stimulation of this microchip by the aliens would facilitate out-of-body experiences and memory recall in the future. It would also allow the aliens to knowledge of my location at any time. I think I had a second alien encounter when I was 12 at church camp that triggered my memory stores in my hippocampus. I developed a photographic memory and taught myself how to speed read after that point in time. And thirdly, after years of preparation, I believe I had a close encounter of the fifth kind. A close encounter of the fifth kind is when an alien has communication with a human telepathically. Telepathically, I was told, "You will not remember anything I have told you. You have all the answers." And last, before turning to go back to my apartment, the alien said, "We will be back for you someday." Because of this promise, I believe that I am a descendant of the men of renown in the Bible. I believe the men of renown were descendants of the sons of God. In other words, I believe that I have a tiny bit of alien DNA in my genetic makeup. I believe that is why I was chosen to deliver this message. I also believe that there's a lot of other people like me out there walking around. You may not have understood the experience that had occurred in your life. You may have been frightened by the experience. Or you could have been ridiculed and appeared crazy like me. There is a definite connection between aliens, God, and man. This message will be revealed to all in the future. The next series will be on the first universe. I hope to see you next episode. I'm going to say good night. Mystery Answer Man, a.k.a. Papa Lee, signing off. The Lord is my shepherd. Bye.